Hi, and welcome back to Football Made Simple. The biggest match of the Euro so far took center stage, as two superpowers in Germany and France collided. France are generally considered the favourites for the tournament, but Germany have a strong squad as well. In the end, the match finished 1-0 to France, thanks to a Hummel's own goal. The XG was in Germany's favour, however, 1.26 to 0.29, as some of France's bigger chances were offside. But what tactics did both managers use? Let's take a look. And guys, if you are looking for the best fantasy football app to get you through the Euros, check out Fanclash. Fanclash is a lot more entertaining than regular fantasy football apps, as you can play against me and all your other friends live during the match. And whilst it's free to play, Fanclash are giving away $10,000 throughout the Euros. You pick 4 players. For this match I went with Conte, Kroos, Gersons and Griezmann, and watch them collect points throughout the 90. You get power-ups throughout the match and swaps, but they're limited, so you have to pick tactically. And if you finish in the top 3, you can win cash prizes that easily. For example, in France vs Germany, the prize for first was $400. And be sure to follow me on the app, search for Football Made Simple, in order to join our mini league and see how we get on versus everyone else. Just click the link down below and you can get it absolutely free and win from wherever you are in the world. And a big thanks to Fanclash for sponsoring this video. Now, a quick reminder of the formations both teams went with. Let's start with Germany's tactics in possession, as they had 68% of the ball. From the goal kick, Germany were able to come out fairly easily, as France weren't interested in pressing that high for most of the match. And Germany tended to push up their wingbacks higher up in the build-up. And early on, Mbappe and Griezmann would at times look to press Germany's wider centre-backs to create a 3 vs 3 when they did press. And oftentimes, we would see Kroos drop into the backline to look to make it a 4 vs 3 advantage, allowing Germany to play out more easily from deep. And although this was successful at times, France knew how important Kroos was in the build-up, as most of Germany's moves go through him. So, Pogba would often look to track Kroos into these deeper spaces in order to reduce his time on the ball. And he was comfortable doing this, as France already had a spare man in the midfield who could then look to track anyone who looked to take advantage of the space vacated by Pogba. But pressing with this 3 vs 3 higher up led to major problems for France at times. It meant that their shape was quite narrow high up, and down the right, Pavard would be the only wide defender. And Pogba would initially be narrow, looking to pick up Kroos, or cover the route into a dropping forward, and Havertz would move into the half space early on. So time and again, Gersons would receive the ball in space, as Pavard would be 2 vs 1 down and was more narrow looking to track Havertz. And although he was hesitant initially, as the game went on, we saw more of Gersons attacking the byline and looking to get crosses into the box. Later in the match, and deep into the second half, France adapted to this, now defending in a 4-1-4-1 or a 4-4-2, allowing Ginter and Rudiger to have more time on the ball. This meant that with 2 men defending the wide regions, Pavard could track the movements of Havertz or Gnabry without worrying about leaving Gersons free. And generally, Germany's attacking shape was a 3-2-5, with the wing-backs providing all the width, whilst the 3 forwards interchanged positions. However, having gotten the lead, France were fairly happy to sit deep, meaning their midfield, and Conte in particular, made it difficult to find the men between the lines. The success they did have in these scenarios was often when the back 4 was stretched, meaning that a centre-back could then be drawn to the man in the half space, freeing a lane into one of the forwards. Later on in the game, With the wide centre-backs higher up due to Mbappe and Griezmann playing wider, Gundogan often moved higher between the lines as well, so Germany essentially played with a front 6. However, this would mean that all the passing options were the wrong side of the France midfield, making it difficult to penetrate that line. At times, having a man deeper can draw a midfielder higher, which in turn creates space for others between the lines, but this wasn't the case with all 6 between the lines. So, with no central entry, Kroos often looked to find Kimmich with the switch, but Pavard would be quick to close him down. But of course, France were dangerous on the transition. This could be through the direct ball to Mbappe, who could utilize his pace early, which they had success with. But Germany also moved both pivots high during their possession phase in order to look for the intricate pass to the men between the lines. So after a turnover, the dropping Benzema could receive past this first line of pressure, and if a centre-back had followed him, it then opened up room for him to play in the wingers. Let's touch on a couple of elements for France in possession, though they were much more defensive with only 4 shots. From goal kicks, France generally went long, with Pogba in the midfield being the aerial target, as he's better in the air than Kroos and Gundogan, and he won a game-high 4 aerials. And in open play, if Germany had maintained their default defensive shape, there would have been a man down in the midfield, whilst having a wasted spare man higher up. So instead, Havertz tended to drop into the midfield to even things up, often sitting on Conte, whilst allowing Gnabry and Muller to press man versus man higher up. As a result, it was difficult for France to play through this centre, and the fullbacks tended to be the easy outlets for France, with both being in the top 4 for touches, as they would be free when they remained deeper. However, once a fullback did receive, a German wingback could then spring forward to press, whilst the rest of the 4 shifted across to cover. Overall, despite having less of the ball, it often felt as though France were in control of the game, limiting Germany's clear-cut chances throughout the 90 in this great defensive performance. They had some good moments in the transition, however, but were often caught offside. But going forward in the tournament, France may need to show more attacking intent. Germany, on the other hand, may also want to improve their attack. But what did you make of the match? Drop it down below. And guys, don't forget to check out Fanclash through the link in the description down below, and follow me to join our mini league. And if you want even more content whilst helping to support the channel, consider checking out my Patreon at patreon.com/footballmadesimple. You'll get early access to videos, exclusive videos, as well as access to the upcoming FMS video podcast. But that's all for today, and remember, keep it simple.